So today we're going to put the plants that I got in my last video from the Philadelphia Flower Show inside my IKEA greenhouse cabinet, and then afterwards I'm going to give you a tour, houseplant tour style, of all of the plants inside the greenhouse cabinet since I haven't had a chance to do so. If you're just here for the greenhouse cabinet tour, you can go ahead and skip to this time. Otherwise, we have this Sarracenia as well as this Peperomia prostrata to pot inside, or plant I guess, inside the greenhouse cabinet. I don't know the species on the Sarracenia. I honestly don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but you just say it confidently and anybody will believe you. So if you do know, feel free to let me know. I'm very curious, but I honestly haven't done any research, so it might not even be that hard to find out. But yes, please let me know. I'm pretty sure I know where I want to pot these inside the greenhouse cabinet, so I'm just going to move the camera over and just give you a bird's eye view, a point of view. I don't know the word I'm looking for. I'm gonna give you a close-up of what's going on. So I know that these type of pitcher plants are ones that usually live in like very boggy, swampy settings. So I thought it would be kind of cute to kind of place behind this driftwood log back here in between the Begonia amphioxus and the Peperomia blonda. I do see there's one yellow leaf from our philodendron El Chaco red, so I'm just gonna get in there and remove that. But yeah, because these plants do prefer like boggier, swampier settings, I thought it would do better in the base of the greenhouse cabinet rather than putting it on the wall like I did with the other pitcher plants. And it's really not like the star of the show. I mean, it's a beautiful plant. It's very interesting. I think that's more of its thing. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of nestle it in and kind of hide it in a way. And there is this perfect spot right here. So we're gonna put it there. It's already in sphagnum moss, so that makes things pretty easy. I'm just gonna dig a little hole, gonna excavate a little space, just with my hands, move it elsewhere in the cabinet. And it would probably be easier if I just moved the driftwood, but I just want to make sure that I have it in exactly the spot that I wanted. So I'm just going to make this more difficult and leave it there. But I don't need to make that big of a hole because I can definitely remove some of the moss. There's not like a whole like root system going on here, so I can probably just remove most of this moss with no issues. So yeah, this is a lot better. In fact, that's not that much moss to the fact that maybe I should throw a little bit of our substrate back down in there because we might need a little bit more. But let's just nestle it right in. I think that's pretty fun. Can move like a little bit of the moss that I excavated back over and just press it around the sides. Maybe now I can remove the log and just make sure that it has enough substrate. I think that's perfectly fine. Let's get our log back in. This thing has been like molding slightly, the piece of driftwood. I'm just gonna let it go. If it does rot, I can just remove it. I was kind of hoping the springtails might help out with that, but I'm not really sure if they do or not. I should probably get some isopods to add in here now that some of the leaves are gonna start to die back a little bit. Most of the plants are doing pretty well in here, but I'll show you everything once we're doing the tour. But yeah, that is super cute. I really like the way it's just kind of nestled in there. I'll give you a view from another angle, but yeah, I think it looks great. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult to see me pot the Peperomia because I'm gonna put it up on this like shelf right here behind this orchid. I also have this Hoya leucantha. You can see it's not doing well. I don't really know what I was thinking putting a Hoya inside a really humid space. I thought it was gonna do fine because the leaves are really like thin. There's another Hoya I put in that I'll show you during the tour that's not doing very well at all, but I just wanted to try it out. I kind of want to leave it in for now. I'm going to remove this because this is just dying back, but I'm going to leave this for now. It's probably not going to do anything. I'm probably just delaying the inevitable, but I kind of want to leave this just in case it acclimates, and I'll try to water it less. That's my compromise. But this Peperomia prostrata string of turtles is potted in soil, so I'm going to remove most of the soil. I should probably make a little space first. I can remove the sheet moss right here because I don't need that to cover up. I can put it back in afterwards. This moss right behind it here had turned completely brown, but now it's starting to get some green new growth on it, which is extremely exciting. I didn't think it was gonna regrow that fast, but I'll give you as close of a close-up as I can during the tour part of this video. Here is how we are looking. Tried to get most of the soil. There's some decent roots on this, so I think I'm just gonna leave it and I'm gonna nestle it in. Just kind of try to push it down into place. And since this setting is so moist and there is so much moss, I don't really need to go crazy with like tamping down the roots. What I think I'm just gonna do is stuff a little bit more moss back here. And since the little bit of that soil is exposed, I guess I can just put that little bit of sheet moss back behind and like underneath to kind of just make it seem like it's just been there this whole time. I didn't even plant it there. It just appeared. Speaking of things just appearing, there's a peperomia, I'm pretty sure, growing underneath the orchid. It's so little, but I'm pretty sure it's a peperomia. All right, I think that's all I needed to do. I'm gonna grab my distilled water, using distilled because I do have some carnivorous plants like this sundew back here inside the greenhouse cabinet, so I'm just playing it safe. It's already pretty moist soil, so I don't need to wet it too much. I'm kind of just cleaning off the leaves so it's not all soily for when I film the tour. So let's go ahead and move on to the plant tour part of this video. We're gonna start off the greenhouse tour in the base, and then we're gonna work our way up. I feel like that just makes sense. So over on the left, well, I guess we'll start with this one because it's right in your face, is the Dracaena goldiana. It kind of gets those like purple oh, not really. You can see on the new leaf the like purple undersides that it gets, but it kind of fades, I guess, over time. Or maybe I'm just haven't been giving this plant the correct care, but I'm hoping it's gonna do a lot better in here. Behind that is a Korean rock fern that's also starting to put up a lot of new growth. You can see those beautiful green fronds versus those old fronds that have the brown on them. There's also a Syngonium pink splash hiding back there, just a little tiny piece that I'm kind of just trying to revive. And a Paleonia repens or Paleonia pulchra. I know it goes by a couple different names. Moving over, there is a Peperomia trinervis. I'm excited for this to kind of fall down and be more ground cover than this little bush that it is right now. So it's a work in progress. Then a Japanese holly fern behind that. There is a little cutting of Monstera celtibacana that's still just starting to root up onto the wall. And a Phytonia albivanus right behind it, as well as this Begonia melanobulata with those really fun, hairy, pimply leaves that are actually kind of gross after I worded it that way. The Begonia amphioxus. Kind of got to get in front of the glass to see that one. I think it looks really cute in this corner here. And then we just put that Sarracenia that I don't know the species name of right behind the log. And then the Peperomia blonda I kind of pointed out during the potting. And the Philodendron El Chaco red, which I believe does have those red undersides. Yes. So at least we have that, and I'm kind of excited for that to start climbing up the moss right there. Which, speaking of, moving on to the moss ball, we have this Rhaptophora hei. I have a couple different cuttings of this that I put on the wall, so you might see this in a couple different spots throughout this plant tour. Then inside the log here is my Drimonia chiribogana. It's got some soil on it, probably from potting that peperomia. This looks great. I love the way it looks in here. The foliage is awesome. It really contrasts with everything, and I think it just looks amazing in that little log that I have attached to the wall as like a planter. The Apicia, it is doing fine. Apicia cupreata pink smoke. You can see it does have new growth on it and stuff, but you know, the leaves as they get wet, if the water is a little too cold, it will damage the leaves. And it's just, I do feel like it looks very like man-made and manufactured in comparison to the rest of the plants in the cabinet. So I'm thinking about removing it and putting it in its own terrarium, but it does need this kind of setting to survive. So I decided to try it out. There's also a Philodendron Campos portuanum down here that I kind of forgot about, but I don't really know if it's taken yet. So I'm just being patient with that one. A Dischidia hirsuta, which is looking fun as it's starting to creep along the moss here. It's kind of on like the downward slope of this wall pocket here, so it's kind of neat how it's creeping along. And another Dischidia, acuminata. This one is definitely a more succulent variety, so I'm not feeling as positive that that's going to grow as well as the hirsuta is, but I still just decided to put it in here anyway. And then there is a Peperomia viridis variegata that I just stuck a cutting in, which is starting to root up, and I mean, it hasn't grown yet, but it's doing perfectly fine. But I would expect most peperomias to do perfectly fine in here. Up in the top left corner, there is this Philodendron White Princess, which was probably a mistake putting this close to the top, but it's got really small leaves, and I really do like the way it looks. And I can just cut it back and maybe start another cutting like lower, so it can just be like a little mass of Philodendron White Princess up in the corner here. Hopefully the leaves stay this small. I kind of think they might, but hopefully they do, so it doesn't take over the space. Oh, and I almost missed this sundew right here. I don't know the species on this. Some of the old stuff is getting kind of brown. I am using distilled water, but I do see a bunch of new growth. It's kind of hard to zoom in on because it's so small. It's not really focusing that well, but I'm excited about that one. Maybe I'm giving it too much light. I don't know. So this is a coconut orchid right here, the Maxillaria tenuifolia. This will do really well in this setting, although it is leaning a little forward, but I don't really mind. And then the Peperomia prostrata that I just potted in next to it. The Hoya leucantha, which we also just pruned back because it's not doing that great. As you can see with this vine right here that has this one new leaf on it that I'm worried might even fall off if I mess with it too much. So I'll just show you the Peperomia quadrangularis real quick. I don't want to forget about this other Hoya that I put in the cabinet that you can barely see. It's a Hoya angleriana it's not hanging on either. I don't know what I was thinking putting Hoyas in this cabinet. I thought they might enjoy it, but they are not enjoying it whatsoever. So I have this Nepenthes variety right here. I'm not really familiar with carnivorous plants, so if you have any idea on what variety this is, it was just included in an assortment of Nepenthes at a terrarium store, so it's probably not that rare of a variety. I also do have this one down here in case you might know what that is as well. And both of these are starting to grow some new pitchers, which is really exciting. You can see the one there, and there's another one kind of back there. A little baby Victory Bell, which I guess is a bell sprout, but they look more like Victory Bells. And this one also has some new ones growing. That one that's in the moss is probably the one I'm most excited about because it just looks great, but you can also see a little baby one at the end of that new leaf in the center of the screen there, right next to the one that's turning brown. So there's this other Dischidia ovata, that's also doing really well in here. So I feel confident that the other Dischidia that I'm worried about will hang on. It's had one leaf turn yellow, not this one, the other one over here. Sorry, I'm getting off topic, but yeah, I'm hoping Dischidias do well since the Hoyas haven't really proven to be doing well in here. Then there is this Peperomia serpens, which is starting to like grab onto the wall behind it on the moss, which is really exciting. It's not the most showy Peperomia. I kind of just put it there and I'm like, I don't know if I really love it, but I can always just like cut it back and let it just kind of like creep into the wall if it starts to bother me. There's this Anthurium villanarum. I got this in a video that you actually may or may not have seen yet. I filmed it a while ago. And I don't know when I'm posting it, but I'm posting it at some point. So you will see me unbox this at some point if you haven't already. It just put off this new leaf. It's still growing. It hasn't even hardened off yet, but it's quite large and it's making me concerned that this isn't going to live in this cabinet for much longer than one more leaf after this, although it looks amazing. But yeah, it's just, I'm worried it's gonna get a little too big, but I'm gonna leave it for right now. Also because it's kind of blocking the rabbit's foot fern that I have back here, the Dahlia fujiensis. It's not really focusing, but this leaf right here is starting to turn yellow very, very, very slowly. So I feel like eventually that one's gonna fall off and then the rabbit's foot fern will be able to shine. I think there's only two more. So there's this orchid that I almost missed, the Brassocataleya yellow bird, just a little chunk of it that I kind of stuffed on the wall here. I don't know if I like it next to this orchid. I had planted this before when I was originally having this as like a water feature. So then I put this orchid in here and now I'm like two orchids right next to each other. So I'm kind of thinking about like maybe pulling this out and like moving it over in like the corner somewhere and then maybe moving like the Nepenthes up so the pitchers can kind of like dangle. Maybe we'll do that in another video at some point. But then the last plant that I have in here, I'm pretty sure is this begonia, which I don't know the species of. I've been calling it begonia red planet because I used to grow a begonia red planet and this looks a lot like a begonia red planet. So let me know if you know anything otherwise. It's kind of hard to see from the way that the light is shining on the leaves and also they're kind of wet. But this has been doing really well. You can see all that new growth. So that makes me really happy and want to try out more begonias. But I already have two in here down here. So I'm getting my begonia fix. And I do also want to show you, not really plants, but I mean, they are plants. So the moss is coming alive. So we have this moss here. I guess I showed you in the actual greenhouse video, but it's coming even more alive. So that's amazing. And also the moss behind here that was completely brown, it's starting to get little shoots of it that are turning green and growing off of it, like new growth. Like the old moss isn't turning green again, it's new moss growing off of the brown moss. And that's just really exciting. And a lot of the moss just looks like it's coming back to life. You can see they look a little bit more like fluffy and fuzzy and just really like they have more life to them. This one back here has these little like grass-like thingies coming off of it. You can kind of see like little hairs. I don't know if it's anything to do with the little like seed pods that are growing out of it, but yeah, just a lot of activity going on in the moss, as well as those little weeds or seedlings that are coming out that are kind of hard to film right now because they're getting really blown out by the light. But I'm just kind of leaving them. Some of them have just kind of died back anyway because it's probably not like prime settings for them, but I'm just having fun with it and just leaving them be. They're just starting to appear like all over the place. But that is the tour of my greenhouse cabinet. I don't really feel like setting up the camera back facing me, so I'm just gonna close off today's video by showing you a full thing of the cabinet. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for following along this process. I've been having a lot of fun and I'm definitely not done updating you on this. There's many updates to come. So thank you so much for joining me and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.